She never expected that a simple plan to make her ex jealous would turn her entire world upside down. And he certainly never thought that agreeing to a little harmless pretend dating would lead to something neither of them could have predicted. It all began on an ordinary Thursday, the kind of Thursday that feels like it could pass unnoticed, but fate has a funny way of showing up when you least expect it. Emma sat at her desk, typing away at the latest marketing report, her mind wandering to Jason, the man who had left her with more questions than answers. She had loved him with a reckless kind of devotion, only to watch him walk away without a backward glance. And now, seeing him posted all over social media with his new girlfriend, Emma felt a familiar sting of jealousy. She wasn't proud of it, but she wasn't going to lie to herself either. That's when she looked up and saw Liam across the office, scrolling through his phone with a similar expression of quiet frustration. Liam, her coworker and sometimes confidant, had his own history. He had been blindsided by his ex, Sophie, who had decided to move on and seemingly erase the past with a single smile and a new boyfriend. He wasn't bitter, at least not outwardly, but the ache was there, subtle and persistent. Emma and Liam had always joked about office romances and ridiculous schemes. They knew each other's lives better than most coworkers, but they also knew each other's heartbreaks. And on that Thursday, as if drawn together by some cosmic mischief, they shared a glance that said everything without a word. "What if?" Emma started, hesitating, a mischievous spark lighting her eyes. Liam raised an eyebrow, already sensing the dangerous fun she was hinting at. "What if we pretend to date?" Emma said, almost whispering the words as if saying them aloud made them real. "What?" Liam asked, though the grin spreading across his face told her he wasn't as shocked as he pretended to be. "Just for a while," she continued. "We make our exes jealous. We show them that we're moving on, that we're desirable, that we're untouchable." Liam chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "You mean like a game? A little fun? I could do that. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?" Neither of them realized, at that moment, that the worst, or the best, was exactly what they were stepping into. They started small. Lunches became dinners, casual touches and inside jokes that seemed innocent but deliberately flirtatious. The office started to notice, and soon both Jason and Sophie began to inquire, sending messages laced with curiosity and perhaps a hint of regret. It was working. Emma saw Jason like she hadn't in months, flustered and unsure. Liam noticed Sophie noticing him again, her eyes lingering longer than they should. The thrill of the game made every interaction electric. But as the days passed, what began as a performance started to blur. Emma noticed herself laughing at Liam's jokes in a way that felt dangerously real, the kind of laugh that comes from the soul, not just from politeness. Liam found himself wanting to share things with Emma that he hadn't even told his best friends, the little details of his life that now seemed safer in her presence. One night, after a particularly convincing double date they had staged for mutual effect, they found themselves sitting alone on a park bench, the cool night air filled with the sound of leaves rustling and distant traffic. Emma looked at Liam, her heart pounding in a rhythm that felt both familiar and foreign. "I don't know if this is supposed to feel like this," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "What?" Liam asked, leaning closer, the streetlight casting soft shadows across his face. "I mean, I thought this was all just a game, but now I think I'm not sure what I'm thinking anymore." Liam smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that made her stomach flutter. "You mean you're falling for me?" he teased softly. Emma laughed nervously, shaking her head, but the truth hung between them, undeniable and heavy. The line between pretending and reality had vanished, replaced by a chemistry that neither could ignore. Their next interactions were electric in ways they hadn't predicted. Workdays were suddenly filled with stolen glances, lingering touches, and conversations that lingered long after the office lights dimmed. It wasn't just about jealousy anymore. It was about connection, about discovering someone who understood the pain, the humor, and the heartache in ways nobody else could. And yet, fear lurked beneath it all. Both had been hurt before, and the idea of diving into real feelings after a plan that was supposed to be just a game was terrifying. One rainy evening, as they walked together under a single umbrella, Liam stopped and turned to her, raindrops clinging to his hair and jacket. "Emma," he said quietly, "what if we admit that this isn't pretend anymore? What if we stop trying to be clever and just be honest?" She looked into his eyes, searching for any sign of hesitation, but found none. Her own fear melted away, replaced with a warmth she hadn't expected. "Then I guess we stop pretending," she whispered, letting the words hang between them like a promise. And that was when the world shifted. Their exes, sensing that the act had ended, faded into the background. Jason and Sophie realized that they weren't getting the response they wanted, and slowly they stepped away, leaving Emma and Liam to navigate the new reality of what had grown between them. It wasn't simple, and it wasn't always easy. There were awkward moments, doubts, and lingering insecurities. But every time they held hands, every time they laughed over coffee or argued over something trivial, they were reminded that this was real, that this connection had been waiting to emerge all along, even under the guise of a game. Months passed, and what had started as a shared joke transformed into a love that was grounded in friendship, respect, and a deep understanding of each other's past. They celebrated small victories together, comforted each other during low days, and discovered a rhythm that was uniquely theirs. And it all began with a plan that neither expected to succeed in the way it did. One sunny afternoon, as they walked through the same park where the blurred lines of pretend had first begun to reveal the truth, Liam stopped again. He took her hands in his, looking at her with a mix of wonder and certainty. "Do you remember how this all started?" he asked, a teasing glint in his eyes. Emma laughed, remembering the stolen glances, the carefully staged dates, the thrill of making their exes jealous. "I do," she said, "and I can't believe we almost ruined it by thinking it was just a game." Liam smiled, pulling her close. "The best things in life are never just games, Emma. They sneak up on you, catch you off guard, and suddenly you realize you found something real." And as they stood there, hands entwined, hearts beating in sync, the world seemed to quiet around them. The pretend had ended, but the real had begun, stronger and more beautiful than either of them could have imagined. Emma rested her head on Liam's shoulder, feeling the warmth that came from being truly seen and truly known. She realized that sometimes love doesn't announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it waits patiently in the background, disguised as coincidence, friendship, or even a little mischief. And when it finally arrives, you recognize it not because of fireworks or grand gestures, but because it feels like home. Liam kissed her forehead gently, whispering, "I'm glad we played the game." Emma smiled, her heart full, and whispered back, "Me too, because now we've won something real." And in that moment, with the sun casting golden light across the park, two people who had once pretended to be in love found themselves exactly where they were meant to be, discovering that the heart has a way of finding truth, even in the most unexpected places. They had come for a game, for revenge, for a spark of jealousy, but they stayed for each other, for a connection that defied plans and expectations, a bond that was entirely their own. And as they walked away together, side by side, laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves, it was clear that the story hadn't just ended. It had begun in the most extraordinary way. The pretend was over, but the real had only just started. And for Emma and Liam, that was more than enough.